Grumble, grumble.
Hey everybody, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I am coming back at you with another Kickstarter unboxing. This time we're going to be looking at Adventure Tactics Domianne's Tower by Nicholas Yu. This is coming to us from Letterman Games, and I backed this through the Adventures in Alchemy campaign, which was a reprint for second edition to fix some issues, and an expansion as well. So you got some really cool art here. First off, I just want to say, holy shit, this is pretty heavy. There's something like 900 cards in here, so there's a lot of content. Okay, let's see here. Sharpen your swords, ready your spells, gather your allies. Adventures Tactics, 10 miniatures, 2 books, over 800 cards, dozens of standees, board game pieces, dice, and tokens. So this is basically a really faithful board game implementation of something like Final Fantasy Tactics. So a job system-based role-playing game where you're moving around on a grid and switching your jobs in and out to combine abilities from different jobs and whatnot. So you're thinking Final Fantasy Tactics, you're thinking Vandal Hearts, Fire Emblem, maybe, stuff like that, which is awesome. Tactics is one of my favorite video games of all time. And so to see it reproduced to this level of accuracy, which you're going to see as we get into it, is pretty intense, is exciting. So we start off by busting this bad boy open. So this is just the core box. I have, a ton of other stuff. I backed it at the all-in pledge. So I have the storage solution and play mats and all that good stuff. But I figured we'd start with the core. Let's see if anybody watches this before I bother unboxing any of the rest of it on camera. All right. Whoosh. Here we go. Domianne's Tower. Got your rule book here. Nice and big, huge print. I really appreciate that as someone who is functionally blind. You've got your pictures of all the components, which is super helpful. You've got a table of contents. And then you've got your class guide on the back. Which, just look at this. Okay, so first of all, basically any game, as I've said many times, that has a Dark Knight in it, I'm all about. Demon Hunter as well. Gladiator is another class that really gets me going. Paladins too. So right off the bat, you got Dark Knights, Demon Hunters, and Gladiators. I'm all about it. So this looks great. Tons of really great art. Doesn't look like the rule set is too complicated. I played this a couple years ago on Tabletop Simulator, but I haven't touched it since. So we'll see once I get into the actual gameplay, just how complicated it is. Next up, we've got the campaign guide, wire bound like that. You don't see that often, but I like to see it. And here you've just got tons of quests basically, and they branch. So you get to just make decisions as you go. And, like I said, it's basically a turn-based strategy RPG. So you're going to be on a hex map, moving around, avoiding obstacles and trying to position yourself for maximum damage and whatnot. Here we've got the player boards. Oh, these are nice. So there's one for each character. Quill, Robota, Elwyn, Tolbin, and Olette. And they've got these little punch-out components so that you can slot your cards in next to them. So those are pretty cool. As I said, I got the playmat pack as well. But to be honest, I don't know. this is nice. I like this kind of functionality for a dashboard where it can sit on the table and you can just slot your cards in and it kind of holds them in place. And the playmats don't have that, obviously. It's just a flat playmat. So, I don't know. These might actually get used. I'm going to have to get rid of those dumb playmats. I'm not going to punch all this out on screen, but sooner or later I will. Let's get back on screen here. I got something new in my setup today for my video streaming. We're constantly improving here at the Grumpy Meeple. Now I have a monitor sitting next to me so I can see what the hell I'm doing. So you're going to notice, hopefully, a lot less of my head on camera and a lot more of things being in focus and centered on the screen. All right. Now we've got the class guide. Okay, awesome. The fighter, the wizard. So it's telling you basically their role, the kinds of items or the kinds of abilities that they start with, and some details about their unique cards and whatnot. So you got a fighter, a wizard, cleric, rogue, and archer are your starters, and then as you move on, when you're leveling up, once you hit a certain level in various classes, you can switch your class to another. So for instance, here you can see we have the assassin who requires a rogue level 2. So once you hit level 2 in a rogue, you can decide, do I want to continue down the rogue path or do I want to switch over to a level 1 assassin? And then you start leveling him up. Same thing with the bishop. You've got the barbarian, the necromancer, a ranger, a paladin. There's the gladiator. Awesome. There's the Dark Knight. So awesome. Dark Knight, fighter 1, wizard 1. He's a hybrid tank. It's got ranged attacks, utility, and damage reflection. Interesting. And you can see some of the abilities here if you look closely. Damage shield and arcane lance. Awesome. Got the ninja, the war mage. And so the idea is every time you play this game, you're gonna have the opportunity to build a completely different character who could be a hybrid of any number of these classes, because each class can only be leveled up to level 5, I believe. And so at some point you have to switch classes or else you're not gaining any kind of benefit anymore from leveling up. Shaman, warlock, you get the monk, the skirmisher, and you can see the requirements for pushing these guys to the multi-class are pretty low. Like level 1 rogue, level 1 archer to get the skirmisher, who's doing range damage. He's got high mobility, he gets extra actions, and he's very versatile. Then you've got the demon hunter, little more stringent requirements here. Cleric 1, rogue 1, archer 1. The beast trainer requires fighter 1 and archer 2. You've got the bard and the champion. And then on the back, you've got from Hero Pack 1, which I do also have, you've got 3 of the like super classes, which includes the time mage, like that's like straight out of Final Fantasy Tactics. The magic blade and the engineer. Oh, cool. Oh, the magic blade sounds awesome. And these have some much more stringent, this one you gotta have fighter 3 and a wizard 1. And he's gonna be doing range damage. He gets to enhance his weapons. He gets multiple weapons, and he has a soul sword. So this is like the meat and potatoes of the game, and the reason that I and probably the vast majority of people who bought it. And it looks like it's not going to disappoint. Okay, next up we've got our cardboard. So the cardboard was one of the things, from what I understand, was one of the reasons that they reprinted this in the first place, because it ended up being less than ideal. Basically, there was a shit ton of warping on the tiles, and they were to the point where they were basically unusable. And just to speak to that, you can see here, even this standee tile, or the cardboard for the standees and whatnot, they are warped coming straight out of the bag. They're not wrapped. Straight out of the box, they're warped, and so maybe I can manipulate that a little bit, but that's a little annoying. So here you got a bunch of terrain elements. I probably won't use these. I'll use 3D elements from all that crap that I've collected over the year. And then you've got your hit points, and then just a ton of monster standees. And these are pretty cool standees, actually. They're labeled, which I really like, so you can keep track of monster, Goblin Monster 1 versus Goblin Monster 2. I'm just making up the name. Which is really nice. And then you've got hero standees as well. And, more kind of little terrainy bits. And then some big bosses like this dragon, which is like a huge standee. Now, I do have the miniatures for this game. I bought the miniature collection. But I'm going to have to think about if I actually want to use them, because I'm getting more and more interested in standees as time goes by. Because, boy, they just save so much space, and you don't have to paint them, and there's a real appeal there for me. Let's take a look at the tiles. I've heard some complaints about the tiles, not only that they warp, which, I don't know, they look okay right now. And again, I might not even use them, to be honest, because I have the dungeon Warlock, WizKids Warlock tile sets, and so because this is grid based, I can easily just make a 3D version of it, basically, instead of needing to use these. But you can see they're basically all the same on each side, and then you've got these outdoor tiles, which are cool, which do appear to be different for each one. But then on the back, you got basically very similar pools of sludge, but they don't look to be horribly warped. And to be honest, I've had so much experience dealing with warped tiles. Seamon's tiles are garbage out of the box. Flying Frogs tiles are garbage out of the box. I've gotten really good at mitigating it through the use of, oh, fuck a duck. My box is busted to shit on basically all sides. That's really fucking annoying. I might have to get them to do something about that, because this thing is gonna fucking fall apart already. So I've gotten really good at dealing with warped miniatures, or warped boards, because they're almost always warped. Here we've got the minis. What's going on here? Are we missing a bunch, or like what is supposed to? I don't know. They were loose in the box. That's no big deal. Sliding around a little bit. And these are for the heroes, basically. So maybe let's go in a bit. And get a better look at the minis here. Here is your start. So they're minis for the starting classes. So here's the wizard. Here is, I believe this is the cleric. Or not the cleric, though. Yeah, the cleric. There's your archer. And these are okay, they're not going to win any awards, but they're perfectly serviceable. Here's your fighter. Kind of cool. It's got some arrows sticking out of his shield. And then your rogue, which is actually a pretty cool mini. The problem with the minis, though, is right off the bat, you're mixing miniatures and standees, which I hate. Nobody really likes to do that. Okay, and then here you've got some minions, basically. These are your skelly men. with their axes. Looks like an imp. A little bit of camera shake from my family slamming around upstairs. And then you've got a wolf. Cool. Okay, next up you've got, popping back to the standard mode here. Here you've got basically storage for your characters as you level them up. So this is kind of cool, you know, it's kind of Gloomhaven-y. You got these cardboard boxes that you can stick your cards and stuff into. Of course, the problem with these kinds of solutions, and it's the same problem I have with Gloomhaven, was that they're open on the bottom, and so shit will slide out of there. So if you try to stick tokens and stuff in there, that's probably not going to work, and even cards. So usually what I'll do is I will tape the bottom over, or just use a bag, which is just as easy. But these are kind of cool. You know, you get one for each character. I wonder if they'll hold everything once you're leveling up and such. They look pretty robust. And if you're using the standees, you can easily get those in there. And it looks like you could probably get the miniature in there too. That's a big box. Get some plastic baggies. Oh, so here's the stands for your standees. So let's pop one out. So in this version, I believe this is an addition. They have given you standees for all the classes. I don't think that they did this in the original game. Which is really cool, but also yet another reason to not use the miniatures, because for the miniatures, you don't get class-specific miniatures. You're just getting the basic, you know, standard archetype miniature. So this is kind of a point in the standees' favor. And I don't mind standees. You know, the one thing that annoys me about standees, and I might even be able to fix it myself, is that they're just not heavy enough. Like, what I want is like a weighted base for my standees so that they will sit and be stable. So, I don't know, maybe I'll glue a magnet on the bottom of this or something to try and kind of weigh it down. But there you go, you know, that's perfectly serviceable standee miniatures. And having all the access to all the classes is pretty rad. Here's some larger ones for your big monsters like the dragon. Very cool. Here you get a bunch of specialty dice for the game. I don't know what any of those do. Here's just a weird die that's just floating around. This is a directional die, so that I'm assuming when you're like planning monster movement and stuff, maybe you can kind of lead them around. Oh, this is what was rolling around. So there was something rolling around in the box, and it's these silicate packets. Looks like it busted open. Here you've got some card organizers. I assume these are garbage if you have the larger storage box, which I do. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or not. These are health trackers, I believe. These are really nice looking. These are your initiative chits. And they are nice and heavy. You know, like maybe not quite like Too Many Bones level, but pretty dope. And so you get one for, yeah, for each of your characters, and then you get a couple for your monsters because they get to activate so many times a turn. And so the idea is you shuffle these up and then you lay them out, and that forms your initiative track. I love initiative tracks in games, so I'm excited to play around with that. And then you have got just an absolute shit ton of cards. Now, there is no way in hell that I am going to unbox all these here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna find a couple of decks that look particularly cool. Yeah, we probably need some of those. They should be fun. The interesting thing is I don't know if the monsters actually come in cards. If I remember correctly, and I might not because it's been a long time, you may be... This is one of those games that has some of the monster statistics, at least, in the booklet. Yeah, see, so you've got images of what your monsters are doing, which I'm back and forth on. It doesn't look like this game's gonna take up a huge amount of space, so I probably wouldn't have a problem with it here. It's just, can you have this book sitting out and be able to easily reference it, you know? And again, it may well be that there are cards in there for these guys, but if not, you know, I understand why they would want to do that, because it just cuts down on the amount of crap on the table, and it also allows them to modify, you know, your monsters as you're playing through, which is very cool. So let's see here. Let's just start with this deck. It looks like it's got some of the hero cards, which is really what I want to see. And we'll go ahead and zoom back in to the extreme zoom. Okay. So, right here we've got, who the fuck is this? Oh, that's kind of interesting. You have to know what the class is to be able to. Interesting. Anyways, some ability cards here. It looks like make a basic move or okay, adaptable. So these are all basic. You deal damage with a basic attack. Add. I don't know if that's is that a red die? It's called Adrenaline Boost. I'm not sure what the symbology here means in terms of the cost of it, but all in, take an extra action. Oh, there's the Arcane Lance. Make a basic attack plus a white die against any target in range, and it's got a range of 1 to 13. So that's, I think that was the Dark Knight. Pretty sure that was the Dark Knight. And so the idea is you're building a deck of cards that's made up of some kind of like basic cards, like, you know, move or take a normal action, and then also some specialty cards like this that are class specific. And so when you're changing classes, you're getting access to another class's deck, and so you're mixing and matching. So you could have, you know, maybe a Dark Knight and I think this is the Ranger kind of combo, where you would have your Arcane Lance and your Barrage in your hand at the same time, and so you can really kind of mix it up. Very cool. Very cool idea. So you've just got, you know, tons and tons of these. I don't want to get them too much out of order, so. Consecrate Ground, okay, that's cool. Damage all enemies and heal all players. Dagger Throw. Range 1 to 4, red die. So that's the Thief, I believe. So he's got a lot of just straight up attack cards. Damage shield, that's the fighter, I believe. When you're another hero in range is damage, deal blip blip to the source of the damage. Cool. Divine Flames, Divine Influence, Executioner's Strike. Blue die and a red die. If the target is reduced to 10 HP or less, the target is stunned. Cool. Fireball. And so the vast majority of the cards in this game, I'm assuming, are basically just tons and tons of ability cards, because the base game comes with 20 classes. So, you've got that. Let's take a look at the next one. Yeah, and so I'm liking basically most of what I'm seeing here. You know, another thing that I like is that this is one of those rare games where the all-in, for a game like this, like a skirmish-based miniatures game, or a dungeon crawler, the all-in was very reasonable. It was $250, and that was a couple years ago. So they're not CMONing you with 40 different expansion packs. They had just basically a couple of add-ons, and you get it all for about $250. So here you have your basic ability cards, basic move, lots and lots of basic move, basic attack, and so forth, and so on. What is this? Oh, okay. Here you've got some items. Ooze Potion. While equipped, movement, +1 movement. And then I'm assuming this means you can discard it to heal blank blank. Some healing potions. Story perks. Okay, well, I don't want to spoil those. I didn't even know that those were a thing. Supply perks. Okay, there's all sorts of cool shit going on here. And then here you've got your shit. I'm gonna get these cards all out of order. Oh well. Looks like some of your class specific like super abilities. So he's got Shake It Off. When you're damaged, heal blank. The wizard's got Arcane Shield. When you're damaged, reduce that damage by a white die +1. And so each class is going to have their own special and unique cards that will go into their deck. Next up, we've got the card that made me immediately go, oh, it's Final Fantasy Tactics. That is Rock Toss. This is like one of your starting abilities as I think it's a squire in Final Fantasy Tactics. I think you kind of always start as a squire. I might be wrong about that, but he gets a rock throw where it has a chance to push targets back. And so as soon as I saw this on like your base fighter character, I was like, oh, okay, tactics, yeah, got it. Other post seasoned performer. Oh, this must be the bard. Search your deck for a class feature card and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So just so many unique abilities that are going to make each class play differently and each combination of classes play differently. So it's like, do you want a mage or a wizard who can also heal? You go maybe wizard 3, cleric 2. Do you want a fighter who has a lot of ranged attacks? So forth and so on. Here we've got some item cards it looks from the market. I don't really want to spoil these for myself or for you. Here's your minion cards. Skeletons, imps. The Mark of Death. I'm assuming that these are negative cards that get worked into your deck. If you get KO'd or something like that, maybe. Random encounters. Oh, really cool. Supply random encounter. Rigby's Raiders. Intent on exacting revenge for their fallen leader, the remnants of Rigby's Raiders fall upon your party. Without their leader, you dispatch them easily. Add 1 bag of gold from blah, blah, blah. Okay, so like unique stuff that can happen as you are journeying. Here's some, these look like boss cards. And all the cards are, you know, standard size with the exception of this deck. So there's not a ton of, you know, different card types, like something like Shadows of Brimstone, you know, where you've got large size cards, extra, you know, huge enemy sheets. You've got your hero sheets, you know. This is all pretty generic. Shadows of Brimstone is not a good example, but I'm struggling to think of one at the moment. Okay, so here you've got a bunch of passive abilities. And looks like these, yeah, these are class specific too. So the fighter gets a passive ability, tough, +3 maximum hit points. Oh yeah, and then grit, +3 maximum hit points. So they give you 5, they give you 5 of every card, I'm assuming, because you could have 5 players and all be fighters, basically. Here's Cleric, Divine Will, +1 range for all non-basic attacks. Cool. The Wizard has Learned Scholar, +1 maximum hand size, and so forth and so on for all of your various classes. Super cool. What do we got here? Dice. Backstab for the Rogue. Whenever another hero is adjacent to your target, roll an additional black die? Oh, okay. I get it. Eagle Eye. Whenever you attack a non-adjacent target, roll an additional. So these are cards that give you more dice or allow you to modify dice. And again, they're all class specific. So that's how you build out your class identity, basically, is you're going to get your passives and your dice cards, and that's going to be what makes your barbarian feel completely different from your fighter. But again, as you're cross-classing, I'm assuming you're combining those passives together. So, you know, maybe you start as a level 1 fighter to get the extra 3 hit points from toughness, and then you switch over to mage. So you just want a little bit tankier mage, wizard, that kind of thing. I'm simplifying all of this, obviously, but that's what I do here at the Grumpy Meeple. Simplify shit and talk down to people. What do we got here? Oh, okay. So I believe, yeah, we start with the barbarian. These are your class cards that tell you what your class features, which, again, I'm assuming I go and I look in here, I am going to find a barbarian card called Rage, and there you go. So you take this as a level 1 barbarian, and it tells you need to go get the Flesh Wound and the Dice Rage cards, and then there's your Dice Rage card. So Rage, if you have lost at least 20 hit points, roll an additional white die when attacking an adjacent target and receive additional white die damage from non-basic attacks. So you go into your like Reckless Berserker Fury, basically. Cool. And then as you level up, And these are the same on both sides. Right? No, it looks like there's maybe an easier mode. This is +4. No, never mind. They're the same. And then as you level up, you're adding new cards. So this is telling you when you hit level 2, go grab the leap card. When you hit level 3, you get your passive battle scars ability, and you become unstoppable and you add +4 hit points. Cool. Level 4 gets you Executioner Strike, and level 5 gets you Dice Frenzy. And again, every class has a set of these cards from level 1 to level 5. So cool. Here we've just got more of our kind of basic cards. Two more decks. I guess I will go through them all, at least in some very slight detail. These look like status effect cards. Empowered. Each hero has +1 hand size for this encounter. Return this card to supply items when completing the encounter. So I know that there's an element of kind of push your luck, or kind of like completionist in your quests, because there are bonus objectives that you can hit, and if you hit them, you get additional cards or items. You can see here it's saying you can receive the following from the supply. You get an extra loot card or whatever. So I'm assuming some of these fulfill that role. Bumps and bruises. At the beginning of the next encounter, each hero takes white damage. Return this card to the blah. Here we've got some, modifier cards. Cool. Primary, secondary, and tertiary modifiers. So these are going to switch up your enemy cards and maybe just your boss cards. Not sure. Those are cool. Just more modularity. And then here you've got all of your class cards. And it's showing you that they get special dice. I'm assuming that's like their default attack. So many cool classes. And so what I like about this is it's just such a straightforward, obvious, and clear implementation of one of those game types. You know, it's not trying to obfuscate it. It's not wrapping a bunch of extra shit around it. It's literally move dudes around on a grid-based map, fulfilling objectives, fighting enemies, leveling up, and managing your jobs. Like, it's as close to Final Fantasy Tactics, the board game, as we're likely to ever get. These are all just items from the supply. All sorts of different stuff here. I have no idea what any of it does. Some more special abilities. Ooh, the Warlords. I don't want to spoil that. All cool stuff though. And then finally, just see if there's any card type that we haven't already looked at here. Or basic class cards. Archer. Make a basic move. And I'm assuming this is like a defensive ability. When an enemy moves adjacent to you, make a basic move. Yeah. Yep. So just tons and tons and tons of class cards. And then these look like ability or item cards that drop off of the bosses. Cool. The Wraith Blade. Or off of enemies, just in general. And there's lots and lots of those too. So just like in those games, you are getting equipment as you go through, and that's another part of your character manipulation. And that's it. That is our look at the core box for Adventure Tactics Domianne's Tower. Let me know in the comments if you've played this, if you think it looks really cool, if you think it looks real shit. Hit me up, let me know. And I will let you know once I get it to the table what I think about it, and maybe we'll film some gameplay. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later.